I'm trying to explain the concept of the ET tubes. Okay, so ET tubes is a very important piece of equipment and very inexpensive also. It helps us to secure the airway, but we need to understand when to put it, when to remove it, how to measure, how to disinfect it, what is the care needed for a patient, especially with the tube inside. Okay, and how it is different for a cat. We need to understand the basics. So if we broadly classify ET tube, it is helping us to secure the airway of the patient. So anesthesia, securing airway is very important, and if you want to really connect it to the anesthetic machine, we really need to have a ET tube. So broadly, ET tubes can be classified into three types. ET tubes can be of rubber, they could be of plastic, and they can be of silicone. So rubber ones are not they are very flexible, okay, but they develop cracks, they absorb the gases, anesthetic gases also, they react, they're difficult to disinfect, and they leave in residues, and we are not able to see through. So those are the disadvantages of the rubber tubes. The plastic ones, these are the plastic ones. The plastic ones are relatively like rigid, okay, but you have to make sure that they're not very sharp, and these are very popular because they are very low cost. There's another tube which is called as the silicone-based ET tubes. So ET tubes, silicone ET tubes are intermediate between flexible and being rigid, and those are little bit expensive, but those are really lasting long. And ET tubes can also be classified depending upon whether they're having cuff or they don't have the cuff. So roughly we can classify them as a Murphy ET tube and a Maggle ET tube. Okay. So the Murphy ET tube, what will have? They will have a cuff and they will have an eye at the end. It is called as the Murphy's eye. If you see this carefully, okay, there's a small eye over here, Murphy's eye. So the Murphy's eye especially is designed to make sure that the airway doesn't get blocked with the secretions inside. Okay, because sometimes there could be secretions inside, sometimes the animal is salivating, okay, and there could be blockage, but this Murphy's eye has a least tendency to get blocked. So how do we measure the ET tubes? Ideally, a ET tube, in case of a dog, you have to measure from the canine to the scapular spine. So if you're going to put it too deep, then it is going to inflate only one part of the lung, and the rest of the part of the lung is not going to get inflated. At the same time, if your ET tube is very long, that means it will encourage rebreathing, which is also a concern. You don't want your patient to rebreathe carbon dioxide and the exhale gases. Okay, so it's very important to make sure that the length of the tube is correct. It too deep and too like outside is not going to be good. Another thing is, ET tubes have to be put only after induction, only after the loading dose of anesthetic. When the swallowing reflex is abolished, you have to get, and the best way to do it is get the patient in the sternal recumbency, have an assistant raise the muscle, then you can have the tongue in between the canines, you have a mask, and you have a visibly clean ET tube which is properly disinfected. You depress the tongue, visualize the epiglottis, and hold it like a pencil, and go in the tracheal inlet, but at expiration. So these are called as the laryngeal folds over here. Okay, so at expiration they open up, at inspiration they go in. So when they go like this, you need to go in. So as per the updated literature, you want to select a biggest size tube in such a way that you don't have to inflate the cuff. Because most of the damage that ET tube causes is because of the cuff. And there are two types of cuffs. One is called as a high volume, low pressure, and then there is another one that is the low volume and high pressure. Okay, so you need to know how much of volume can be put into this ET tube. This is important. Okay, so I have a 5 ml syringe. I'm just going to check what is the capacity. This is a deflated cuff at the moment. So I take, this is 6 ml of air. First one didn't go in well. Okay. So you always have to be aware of what is. So what is the advantage of the cuff? The cuff makes sure that there is no space between the tube and the trachea. Okay. So it prevents the patient from breathing around the tube. At the same time, it prevents the patient from getting aspirated if your tube is small. But the cuff can cause pressure necrosis. So ideally your cuff should be deflated when you put it in. Then you can inflate it, and you have to inflate it only big enough so that you are not able to smell the gases. Okay, and with the capnograph you can know exactly how well the patient is breathing or whether there is a leak at the level of the ET tube. Okay, so we talked about what should be the length, we we talked about what should be the size, okay, and what is the importance of the cuff, and what is the importance of the Murphy's eye. Okay. Now, if you talk about now, how do you know which side of ET tube is needed for which patient? Now, that is also very important. Okay. So there are formulas and there are guidelines. So let's talk about simple guidelines. Now, experienced people who are doing it every day, they just get it right because of their experience. They just get it right. And those people who might not get to do it every day, there are certain guidelines for you. So the first easiest guideline is try to feel the trachea. How thick the trachea is. Select a tube which is slightly smaller than that. That is the first guideline. Second, the easiest way is when you open it, you know what is the tracheal diameter. Okay, select a tube which fits that. So that you don't feel resistance at the level of rings. At the same time, it doesn't go so freely that the patient is able to breathe from the side. Another thing is, if you keep your tube in between the nasal opening of the nose and the muzzle, the diameter of that is usually equal to the diameter of the trachea. Another thing is, if you see the nasal opening of any patient, you select a tube which is slightly bigger than the nasal opening of the patient. That is one of the guidelines. Okay, and there are formulas also. So there are 3 formulas, and surprisingly they have come from different parts of the world, and they all work. But let's start with the easiest formula. So the easiest formula is body weight divided by 4 plus 4. So suppose if your dog is 12 kg, I am taking 12 just because it's easy to calculate. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so you got 7 size ET2 roughly over there. Now let's put in the second formula. Body weight plus 15 together in the numerator divided by 4. So 12 kg dog plus 15 is 12 plus 15? 27 divided by 4. What is the nearest value? 6 point something? 6 4s are 24. Okay, 6 point something. Okay, so whenever you have decimals, you need to go for the next higher digit. And whatever the formula says, you get one type bigger, one tube bigger, one tube little smaller, and one little smaller than that, and what is near the formula. And the weight has to be as per the lean body weight. And this formula is especially for the dogs. And there is another formula which is more difficult, but surprisingly that also works. Body weight into 5, and you take a square root of that. 12 5s are 60. Which is the nearest square root of 60? 7 7s are 49. 8 8s are 64. 7 point something. It is also working. Okay. So now you know how this is a tentative guideline. This is a tentative guideline to know what is the size of the ET2. Then you should know what should be the length of the ET2, how deep it should go, how outside it should go, outside the muscle. You don't want it out. Another important thing is how to take care of the ET tube in terms of disinfection. So in terms of disinfection of ET tube, because it goes so deep inside, it's very important that we keep it clean. So the best solution that I said is again the diluted Savlon solution, and it also, so it has 0.01% of Savlon and it has 0.1% of iodine solution. Both are very good antiseptics, but the important thing about the antiseptic in ET tube is it should not leave residue inside, because the residues will go inside, come in contact with the mucous membrane and will irritate the dog. So the percentage of chlorhexidine which will do that is 0.05 and the iodine which will do that is 0.5, and our concentration is 5 times less. 5 minutes of contact time, submerge in that, wash it with running water. You can use those brushes and then clean it well, and then you have to inflate the tube. Remember, inflate the tube and then wash it, let it dry, and then put it inside. Always your ET tubes, because they go so deep inside, never hang it in a hospital. I've seen people hanging it. See, there's a lot of dust particles and it goes right inside, and you need this in an emergency. So they should be in a box which is covered so that it protected from, it should be visible also, it should be covered also, but at the same time it should be easily accessible also. So your crash kit should have a laryngoscope, ET tube, ambu bag. If not a laryngoscope, at least an artery forceps, so that you can use it as a tongue depressor. If not an artery forceps, anesthetized dog, at least have a gloved hand to depress the tongue. A light source is very important so that you are able to see. Okay, so we talk about the length of the ET tube, how to disinfect it, what are the different types. Okay, now we have smaller types also. So in cats we don't use cuffed ET tubes, and the ET tubes are small. The ET tubes come from size 2 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter external diameter to up to 10, 12 for the dogs, and for large animals when it is larger. Okay, so it's very important to understand. Now, intubating an inverted dog is very difficult. A dog which is under surgery and he goes in an emergency, and if you want to intubate, it's very difficult. So, and without practice, that's not going to happen. So, whenever I teach my students or my colleagues how to intubate a dog in terms of emergency, I always make sure that you are on the right side of the patient. My right side and the patient's right side, because my hand is the dominant hand. I have a light on my head. I will have someone pull the upper jaw, lower jaw, the tongue comes in between, and then I go over the upper jaw, push the epiglottis gently, visualize the tracheal inlets, and then put it in. It is even more difficult to do it on an inverted dog. It's very easy to do it on an anesthetized dog like that. So ET tube should be inserted in only when the dog is anesthetized, but ideally it should be removed only when the swallowing reflex is regained. If you remove your tube early, there is a possibility of reflex regurgitation. In a brachycephalic dog, they could have a blocked airway syndrome, and so they might stop and they might not be able to breathe. And if you don't remove your ET tube on time, the dog could get up and start chewing on it, and half of it goes in and half of it stays out. You don't want to have a situation like that also. So monitoring is very important. The most important thing when you have a dog with a patient with the ET tube inside, never have a single assistant lift it. A tube inside, and if you are going to twist it, you are going to cause rupture or significant irreversible damage of the trachea. So it's very important that one person holds it over here, the head, and one person takes care of the rest of the body, and then you move it. And especially if you are connected to the anesthetic machine, you have a ET tube, and if you want to change the recumbency of the patient, even from if it is on the back, you want to turn it side, you have to disconnect it. And you have to turn it, and then if you are going to change the position of the dog with the tube inside, it's going to cause damage. Be very careful with that. Yes, ET tube is a life-saving equipment, but if not used properly, it will do damage also. Now, the precaution that we need to take in a cat is, cats are more prone for laryngeal spasms, laryngeal paralysis, laryngeal edema. Okay, so we need to put lignocaine, but cats are sensitive to lignocaine toxicity. Okay, so you don't want to exceed more than 2 milligrams per kg of lignocaine in all forms on a cat. And most of the sprays that we have are 15% and 10%, so they are significantly higher concentration, not safe. So what I usually suggest my veterinarians is, you just take that 2% lignocaine. Take 0.1 ml of lignocaine. Add 0.9 ml of water for injection in it. So actual 0.1 ml has 2 drops. Each ml has 20 milligrams, so each 1 ml, each 0.1 ml has 2 milligrams. So actually each drop has 1 milligram. And most of your cats are around 2 to 3 kg. So if you put a drop of it, of this diluted on the laryngeal folds, and give it 30 seconds to a minute of time, it does the job perfectly. Okay? And then you can have the assistant position the cat under anesthesia. Make sure you have a light source, and without touching the laryngeal folds, gently put it inside. And the same care has to be taken while extubating also. If you end up touching the laryngeal folds, there is a possibility that they will go in laryngeal spasms. Cats are very sensitive to it, and the risk of mortality actually in cat increases with intubation. I mean to say with improper intubation. Okay, because that lignocaine doesn't stay there for long enough, and the risk of spasms is going to be there towards the end also. Okay, so this is in short about ET tubes. I hope I have told you how to calculate the formula, how to take care of them, how to transport the dog, what are the different kinds we have, cuffed versus uncuffed, the advantages of the cuff, the disadvantages of the cuff, and this is in short about ET tubes. We will have another video in which we will talk about the ambu bag.